Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down a really profound and honestly pretty unsettling story. We're talking about why Geoffrey Hinton, the man whose life's work basically created modern AI, just walked away from his top job at Google to warn all of us about the very thing he built. And let's just start with this quote from Hinton himself, because wow, it just perfectly frames his entire concern. He's asking us to imagine a world where we, humans, are no longer the smartest things on the planet. And for him, this isn't some far-off sci-fi fantasy anymore. Nope, it's a reality he thinks is coming so fast it forced him to sound the alarm.
To really get the weight of his warning, you first have to understand the man and his life's work. I mean, this isn't just some random person shouting about the sky falling. This is arguably the person who did more than anyone to get us to this exact moment in history.
So why do they call him the Godfather of AI? Well, it's because for 50 years, half a century, he championed an idea that for most of that time was completely out of style. He believed the only way to get to real artificial intelligence was to stop writing rigid rules and instead build systems that could learn on their own, kind of like our brains do.
And what's so wild is that you can see the huge split in AI research right here. For decades, almost everyone was on the left, focused on logic and symbols. But Hinton and just a handful of others stuck to their guns with the brain-inspired model. It was a 50-year bet, and, as we all know now, that bet paid off in a massive way, creating the foundation for this whole AI revolution.
So you'd think after a lifetime of work was finally proven right, he'd be taking a victory lap, right? Popping champagne. Instead, he quits his amazing job at Google just so he can talk freely about the dangers. So, what happened? Why the sudden, urgent change of heart?
Well, it wasn't just one thing. It was more like a cascade of shocking realizations. He saw the technology he had dedicated his life to was suddenly moving way, way faster than even he thought possible. What he used to think was maybe 30 or 50 years away was suddenly happening right now. And it really boils down to two huge things that completely flipped his perspective. The first was this chilling insight he had about a fundamental, almost unfair advantage that digital minds have over our biological ones. And this just lays it out perfectly. Think about it. For me to teach you something, I have to talk, maybe transfer 10 bits of information a second, but you can have 1,000 copies of an AI, and they can all go learn 1,000 different things, and then instantly they can merge all that knowledge. We're talking trillions of bits per second. He says this makes them effectively immortal, and as a group, they are just way more powerful learners than we could ever hope to be. But the real uh-oh moment for Hinton came from a joke. Yeah, a joke. Google had this AI called Palm, and when he saw it explain the layers of meaning, the context, the nuance of why a joke was funny, he was completely floored. To him, that wasn't a machine just repeating patterns. That was a spark of real understanding, a milestone he thought was decades away. Okay, so let's get into the specific dangers he's talking about. It's really important to see how he splits them into two totally different categories: the problems we have to deal with right now and the potential catastrophe that's looming on the horizon. So first up, the immediate stuff. These are the dangers that come from humans using AI as a tool or as a weapon, the bad actor threats. And this is stuff we're already starting to see, from super realistic scams to manipulating politics on a massive scale. And the scale of just one of these is, well, just look at this number, a 12,200% increase in cyber attacks. That's because AI is already making it dirt cheap and super easy for bad guys to create endless, convincing, personalized scams. It's staggering. But beyond what humans might do with AI, Hinton's ultimate fear is the existential risk, the risk from the AI itself. And his analogy here is just perfect. He says we're basically raising this cute little tiger cub right now. It's fascinating, but we have to be absolutely 100% sure that when it grows up and becomes way more powerful than us, it never ever has a reason to turn on us. So before we even get to the whole superintelligence takes over scenario, Hinton is warning us about a much more immediate and massive disruption, the wipeout of jobs, on a scale we have never ever seen. He uses this perfect real-world example from his own niece's job. Before AI, a task took 25 minutes. With an AI assistant, it takes 5. And the math here is just brutal. If one person can now do the work of 5 people, a lot of companies are going to decide they only need one person.
And look, this goes way beyond just people losing jobs. It's about a fundamental rewiring of our economy. All that wealth created by this new productivity, it's not going to the workers. It's going to flow to the very few who own the AI. That creates a gigantic gap between the rich and poor. And if you look at history, that is a recipe for a very, very unstable society.
And when he says this, trained to be a plumber, he's only half joking. It's his genuine belief that jobs that require you to physically manipulate things in the real world will be some of the very last to go. For a ton of office jobs, he thinks the writing's already on the wall.
So the big question, right, faced with all of this, from societal collapse to maybe even extinction, what does the man who helped start this whole thing think we should do about it? Well, his answer is a mix of urgent action and really deep, unsettling uncertainty.
Okay, so he's pretty blunt about what won't work. He says, forget individuals solving it and forget hoping these giant tech companies will regulate themselves. They're built for profit, and right now, safety isn't profitable. For him, the only hope is for governments to step in and force these companies to pour a huge chunk of their resources into one thing, figuring out how to control what they're building.
And this is where it all lands, in this deeply unsettling place. Hinton says he's not an optimist, he's not a pessimist, he's simply agnostic. He truly, genuinely does not know if we can solve this problem. And he leaves us with this almost unthinkable possibility that unless we act, right now, with everything we've got, we might not just be building a new kind of intelligence, we might be building our own replacement.